Welcome to Cheat Sheet Tales, where secrets slip, lies unravel, and the truth always has a twist. Real stories, raw confessions, shocking betrayals. Drop a comment if you've ever caught a red flag. Too late now. Let's get into today's tale. At my sister's graduation, my parents thanked her for never needing therapy while looking straight at me. My sister laughed. Until my therapist walked in. My parents, Marie and Richard, were the couple who hosted 4th of July barbecues and brought casseroles to church potlucks from the outside. They seemed perfect. My mom worked at the high school office. My dad was a structural engineer who often talked about bridges like they were people. We had 2 daughters, me and Kaylin, and a golden retriever named Chloe. But inside our house, it was different. I've always been the emotional one. Or at least, that's what I was told. Sensitive, dramatic, prone to making things bigger than they are. When I was around 12, I started getting chest pains that turned out to be panic attacks. My parents chalked it up to puberty. Then to stress. Then to a need for attention. What they never admitted, what I've only really processed in therapy, is that I was reacting to something real. When I was 13, I overheard my dad on the phone in the garage. He was whispering, saying things like, "I can't stop thinking about Saturday night." I listened for 15 minutes. With my heart pounding, I didn't understand it all, but I understood enough. I told my mom. She blew up. Not at him, but at me. "You should have been asleep," she snapped. "You don't eavesdrop on people. You don't spy on your own father." Later that night, I heard them screaming. A vase broke. Kaylin slept through all of it, literally. She was 8. That was the first time I was sent to therapy. I was in and out of therapy through high school, while Kaylin blossomed. She was blonde, petite, always smiling in pictures. I was taller, awkward, always hiding behind a curtain of dark hair. She was the good one, the easy one. They'd say it at the dinner table. "Mallory's never any trouble," my mom would say, while glaring at me for rolling my eyes. "She just knows how to let things go," Dad would add. I remember once Kaylin was caught sneaking wine from the fridge with her friends. I thought, finally, they'll treat her like a normal teen instead. They laughed. At least she's not brooding in her room all day. Every time I had a panic episode, it became a family inconvenience. My mom would go quiet and cold. My dad would sigh and say, "Here we go again." Kaylin stopped coming into my room at night like she used to. She didn't ask questions, she just floated away from me. I left for college at SUNY Cortland, about an hour away, and only came home for holidays. That's when I realized how differently we were treated. Every Christmas, Kaylin got new tech, new clothes, spa gift cards. I got socks. One year, my parents gave me a self-help book with the note, "This reminded us of you." I started dating Julian my junior year of college. He was gentle and introverted, never the life of the party, but always the one who walked me home if I was upset. We got married when I was 25. My parents met him twice before the wedding and then barely acknowledged him after. Kaylin was at Cornell by then, thriving. She had an internship at a startup in Boston, a friend group that hiked and did group costume parties. She dated a guy named Darren whose parents owned a vineyard in Vermont. They skied together every winter. My mom called him a real Kachund, asked if they'd considered engagement. Meanwhile, my marriage crumbled quietly. Julian struggled with depression, but he refused to go to therapy. I tried everything: talks, couples counseling, giving him space, offering support. Nothing worked. I left after 2 years because I was drowning. When I told my mom, she looked disappointed. Not sad, but annoyed. "I just thought maybe this time you'd get it right," she said. I didn't even know what it was. I returned to therapy after the divorce and started seeing Nora, a licensed therapist who, twist of fate, also happens to be a second cousin on my mom's side. We kept it professional, but there was something about having a therapist who knew the kind of family I came from that made everything hit deeper. Nora helped me unravel years of emotional neglect, double standards, and scapegoating. She helped me realize that I wasn't broken. I just spent 2 decades trying to make sense of people who refused to take responsibility. Around that time, I also decided to take a break from family events. For about a year, I didn't go to birthdays, skipped Thanksgiving, and told them I had worked during Christmas. The space helped. I missed Kaylin sometimes, but we hadn't been close in years. Then came her graduation. Kaylin texted me the invite first, then called when I didn't respond right away. "It would mean a lot if you came," she said. just be there. Okay, I said, I'd think about it then. A week later, I got an official invitation in the mail from my parents. It was ivory cardstock with gold lettering. Inside was a note. We're proud to celebrate someone woes. Always kept her head opened, never needed therapy to succeed. I sat with that card in my lap for 20 minutes, my face was burning. I considered not going. I wanted to throw it away, but I didn't. I showed up. The party was at a lakeside restaurant in downtown Ithaca, one of those places with $20 cocktails, and a jazz band. The patio overlooked Cayuga Lake. Everything was beautiful. I wore a navy wrap dress and a fake smile. Kaylin looked stunning, like she was posing for a bridal shoot. I didn't say much. I hugged her, said congratulations, and took my seat near the back. There were speeches. Her professor called her a brilliant mind and a kind spirit. Darren toasted her with some cringy joke about late-night study sessions. People laughed. Then my dad stood up. Champagne in hand, he smiled at the crowd. We couldn't be prouder, he began. Kaylin has always been the kind of daughter who just figures things out. She's strong, focused, and most of all, she's never needed therapy to deal with life. The crowd chuckled. Then he looked directly at me. My mom chimed in, raising her glass. Some people chase drama, others rise above it. Kaylin laughed, genuinely, not even nervously, just laughed. I froze, my ears rang. I felt that familiar clench in my chest. My fight or flight instincts kicked in. I nearly stood up and left, and that's when Nora walked in. She wasn't invited, but she had another event in the area and told me earlier in the week she might swing by if I needed a friendly face. I never thought she actually would, but there she was, tall, poised, walking across the patio, like she belonged. My parents noticed her immediately. My mom stiffened, my dad's mouth twitched. Nora smiled politely. Sorry I'm late, just wanted to say congratulations. Kaylin blinked, confused. Wait, why is your therapist here? I stood up. She's also family, I said, my voice steady, which is more than I can say for some of the people here. A hush fell over the table. All eyes were on me. I don't know why I came, I added. Maybe I thought things would be different. Maybe I hoped. For one moment where I wasn't the punchline, my dad opened his mouth. Don't, I said. You made your point. Then I left. Nora followed. We walked back to her car in silence and I cried the moment the doors shut. She didn't say anything right away, which I was grateful for. I needed the silence, the hum of her car engine, the low jazz spilling faintly from the restaurant in the distance. It all felt like background noisito. What was finally collapsing inside me? Nora waited until I stopped crying, or at least until I slowed down enough to breathe normally again. You were brave, she said softly. That was a long time coming. I just nodded. I didn't want praise. I didn't even want to be told I did the right thing. I wanted to feel like I hadn't just burned a bridge, it was already cracked at the foundation. But I knew, deep down, I had. She offered to drive me home, and I didn't refuse. On the way, she didn't talk like my therapist. She was just Claire, the cousin who used to come to our backyard cookouts in jean shorts and eat all the popsicles. She asked if I wanted to go somewhere else, ice cream, maybe, or just a walk. But I told her I was tired. And I was so tired in a way that sleeping alone wouldn't fix. When I got inside my apartment, I sat on the edge of my couch and stared at my phone. 12 missed calls. 1 from Kaelyn, 2 from Mom. 9 from Dad, and a barrage of texts I didn't open. Them. Instead, I pulled out my notebook, the one Nora gave me when we started therapy. I hadn't used it in months, but the weight of it felt good in my hands now. I wrote, I finally said it. After all this time, I said it, and the world didn't end. I walked out, and no one chased me. I don't think they ever will. I don't think they know how. Then I put the notebook down and cried again. Not because I was sad, not entirely. It was more like a dam breaking inside me. A wave of grief, relief, and disbelief all rolled into one. The next few days were a blur. I muted the group chat, blocked my dad's number, told Nora I needed a few days before our next session. I didn't go to work. I just existed. On Tuesday, Kaylin emailed me, not a text, not a call, an email. Formal subject line about the party. The body was short, Rhea. I didn't know they were going to say that. I laughed because I was nervous, not because I agreed. I know things have been bad between us, and maybe I didn't want to admit how bad. I'm sorry if I made it worse. I don't know what to say. Really. Just that I see it now. K. I stared at it for a long time. Was it real? Was she genuinely trying to connect, or was it guilt because the optics were bad? Kaylin had always been a master at keeping things smooth, clean, palatable. She never confronted anything. She once said in high school, "I hate drama," like it was a moral virtue. And for the longest time, I was her evidence of what not to be. But the email felt different. Not perfect. Not trying to spin things. Just ... honest. I didn't respond. I wasn't ready, but I didn't delete it either. 2 weeks passed. No word from my parents. Kaylin emailed again, a longer message this time. ***, I've been thinking about when we were little, and how I always followed you around. Do you remember the time you taught me how to braid my hair because mom didn't have time? I do. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I don't know what it's like to be you. I never really tried to find out. But I'm trying now. If you ever want to talk, I'll listen. Really, no judgment. No sides. ***, that time. I cried again. Not from pain, but from something closer to hope. I still didn't reply. Not because I didn't believe her, but because I didn't know what I wanted to say. I wasn't used to Kaylin reaching out like that. It felt like someone had finally started reading the chapters of my life I'd been writing in secret. Nora and I met again. She didn't ask about the emails. She waited for me to bring it up. I think she means it, I said, sitting across from her on the worn blue armchair in her office. I think so too, she said, but whether you engage with her, how you engage, that's your choice. You don't owe anyone your healing. I nodded. Part of me still wants mom and dad to say something. Anything. Not even an apology. Just ... acknowledgement. That's a very human thing to want. I didn't ask what to do. I already knew my healing wasn't going to come with a tearful reunion, or a family therapy session where we all cried and hugged it out. My parents had made it clear who I was in their eyes. That might never change. But Kaylin, maybe she could. The next week, I finally sent a reply. I got your emails. Thank you. I don't know what this means for us yet, but I appreciate you saying something. I remember that braid too. I remember lots of things. Some good, some not. I'm open to talking. Slowly, she responded 5 minutes later. I'll wait, as long as it takes. I wish I could say that fixed everything. It didn't, but it cracked something open, something real. And once it cracked, the light started to come in. A few days after I replied to Kaylin, I got another message from her. This time, it wasn't an email. It was a voice memo. I didn't listen to it right away. I let it sit there in my inbox. That little red notification bubble daring me to open it. Something about her voice felt more intimate, more vulnerable. It felt like hearing it might make everything more real, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for real. But eventually, late one night while I was brushing my teeth with the lights off, something I've done since childhood when I felt overwhelmed, I pressed play. Her voice cracked at the beginning. ***, hey ... I thought maybe I'd try this instead of writing. I know I probably don't deserve a response right now, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry again. Not just for that day, but for a lot of things. For being silent when I should have spoken up. For laughing when I didn't understand what was being laughed at. For making you feel alone. I don't have a good excuse. I was scared, and I think I didn't want to believe mom and dad were well capable of doing what they did to you. Because then I'd have to look at how I benefited from it. ***, she paused for a moment. I heard her breathing. Then she continued, I don't know what our relationship looks like now. I don't know if we can fix anything. But I want to try, even if that means just sitting with the ugly stuff first. I can do that. I want to do that. She ended with a quiet, I love you. I sat on the floor for a long time after that. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just sat, letting it settle. Letting the weight of her words move through me. That weekend, I called her. I almost hung up before the first ring finished, but I didn't. She answered on the second. Alina. Her voice was soft, tentative. Yeah, I said. Hi. There was a beat of silence, and then she said, thank you. We talked for 42 minutes. It wasn't a dramatic reconciliation. It was quiet, careful. There were a lot of pauses, a lot of me saying I don't know, and her saying that's okay. She asked if I wanted to talk about the graduation party, and I told her not yet. Instead, we talked about other things. How work was going. How she was looking at jobs in Chicago. How Darren's family was not exactly thrilled that she wasn't joining their winery business after graduation. I told her about a new teacher I was mentoring at school, who reminded me of myself at 22, nervous, overly prepared, desperate to be liked, and somewhere between talking about lesson plans and how bad the weather had been that week. I felt something shift, not forgiveness, not healing, but possibility. I didn't hear from my parents. I assumed they were still seething, or pretending nothing had happened, which was more their style. I imagined my mom telling her book club that I caused a scene, and my dad reciting his favorite line, "Some people just love to play the victim." The silence didn't hurt the way I expected. In some ways, it was a relief, but it also made me think about how much of my life had been shaped by chasing their approval. How many things I'd said or done because I wanted them to see me, just once, as enough. I talked to Nora about it. The next week, "I don't know what I want from them anymore," I said. I thought it was an apology, but now I'm not sure I even believe they can give me one. She nodded. Sometimes the closure we need doesn't come from the people who hurt us. It comes from no longer needing them to validate what happened. I let that sit. Because I did know what happened, even if they never admitted it. One afternoon, about 3 weeks after the party, I got a package in the mail. No return address, just my name on a white label. Neat block letters. I opened it carefully. Inside was a small velvet box, and inside that, a gold locket. It was old. I recognized it immediately. My grandmother's. I remembered seeing it in Mom's jewelry box when I was little. Always off limits. I had asked once if I could have it when I was older. She said it would go to someone responsible. I never brought it up again. There was a note. "I thought maybe it was time you had this. Love, Mallory." I held the locket in my hand for a long time. It was heavier than I remembered. I opened it and found a photo tucked inside. Me and Kaylin on the trampoline in our backyard, both of us mid-laugh, our hair wild, our arms tangled around each other. I didn't know she had that photo. I didn't know she remembered that day. In the weeks that followed, we talked more. Not every day, but enough. We started texting casually, memes, funny childhood memories, TikToks that reminded us of our old neighbor's cat. One night, she sent me a message at 10:07 a.m. "Do you think if we'd been born into a different family, we would have been close?" I stared at it for a minute before responding. "I think we were close until, double quotes, we weren't. And I think that wasn't really our fault." She replied a few seconds later, "I miss us." That hit me harder than I expected because I missed us too. One missed the version of Mallory, who used to sneak Pop-Tarts into my room after bedtime. The one who cried when my hamster died and made me a little cardboard gravestone. The one who begged to borrow my clothes, even when they didn't fit quite right. And maybe that version was still in there somewhere. Maybe both of us had just been surviving in a house where love came with conditions. And the only way to stay safe was to stay quiet. A few days later, I got a letter. Not an email, not a text. A letter in my dad's handwriting. My stomach flipped. I stared at the envelope for a full hour before opening it. Inside was one page. "Ria, we're sorry for how the party went. That wasn't the time or place to say what we said. I'm not going to pretend we've always handled things right. Maybe we haven't, but it's hard to see things clearly when emotions are involved. We never wanted you to feel like you were less. We didn't understand what you were going through. That's not an excuse, just a fact. I hope someday you'll come home. We'd like to talk." Dad, there was no signature from Mom. No mention of Nora. No real acknowledgement of what exactly had been done. Just vague gestures and softened language. I showed it to Nora at our next session. "Do you think it's sincere?" I asked. She was quiet for a moment. "I think it's a step. Maybe a small one. But that doesn't mean you have to take one toward them." I nodded, and for the first time, I felt like I was the one with a choice. Kaylin called that night. She asked if I got the letter. I did. "Are you okay?" "I think so," I said. "I think I'm figuring it out." She didn't push. She just stayed on the line with me while we both scrolled through Instagram silently. It was one of the most comforting conversations we'd had in years. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if I'll see my parents again anytime soon, or if I even want to. I don't know what my relationship with Kaylin will look like in a year, but I know this, for the first time in a long time, I'm not playing a role. I'm not hiding. I'm not swallowing words to keep the peace. I'm just being. And it feels like a beginning. 2 months passed. Kaylin and I kept in touch. Regular calls, sometimes lighthearted, sometimes heavy. It wasn't always easy. We had to unlearn a lot of patterns, especially the part where she defaulted to defending our parents, and I defaulted to expecting betrayal. But we were trying. Together. And for once, it didn't feel like I was trying alone. My parents, on the other hand, had gone quiet again after that letter. No follow-up, no call, no second attempt. But I had an idea. It came to me after a particularly rough day at school. I was grading essays after hours, alone in the staff room, when a parent stormed in to complain about a grade. Their daughter had gotten a B+, and it was apparently a character assassination. As the parent ranted, I realized something. This woman sounded exactly like my mother, confident in her ignorance, loud in her wrongness, convinced that being questioned was the same as being insulted. I went home that night and decided I was done waiting for closure. I was going to take it. I knew my parents were hosting their annual Labor Day party. They'd skipped it the year before. Due to some unfortunate family tension, a line my mom fed to the neighborhood gossip chain. I'm sure. But this year, they were back on schedule. The grill was coming out. The neighbors would be there. And the guest list, per tradition, would be posted on the fridge with sticky notes for potluck contributions. I called Kaylin and asked her if she'd be there. She hesitated. I wasn't planning on it. I have an idea, I said. I want you to come, but I want to bring someone too. Kaylin paused. Nora, no, I said. Someone better. I spent the next 2 weeks planning. I wasn't looking for cruelty. I wasn't trying to humiliate anyone. I just wanted them to see all of me on my own terms. Kaylin was in. She even offered to handle logistics. Just say the word. She texted, and I'll back you all the way. So I RSVP'd to the party, and added one guest. The day of the party was warm and sticky. Classic upstate New York early September weather. I wore a sleeveless white jumpsuit, tied at the waist, with gold earrings and flats. Subtle, polished, unmissable. I pulled up to the house at 3 o'clock sharp, just as the party was kicking off. Kaylin arrived 5 minutes later, right on cue. And a minute after that, she walked in. Dr. Diana Brooks, my old high school counselor, now a published author, TEDx speaker, and the keynote at several regional education conferences. And more importantly, the woman who knew exactly what my home life had been like. The woman who had tried to intervene years ago when I was spiraling in 10th grade and my parents tried to pull me out of therapy because it was making me worse. Diana had been my lifeline back then. Now she was my guest. We walked up the front steps together. My mom opened the door beaming, until she saw Diana. Oh, she said, smile faltering. You brought a friend. Diana Brooks, she said, extending her hand smoothly. We met once, I think, at a parent-teacher conference, though you probably don't remember. My mom's smile twitched. Oh yes, of course. From the school. Actually, Diana said gently. Ria invited me because we're working together on a project. I'm helping her put together a workshop for teachers on childhood resilience and family systems. Her story is such a powerful example. I could see it the way my mother's eyes flicked from Diana to me, to Kaylin, who stood behind us, nodding. Oh, Mom said again. Hope you don't mind, I said. I thought it might be nice to share some of my story with a few folks who knew us growing up just to help get the word out about the workshop. You're telling people about us? She said, low and sharp. I'm telling people about me, I said. And how I survived. And what I've learned. We made our rounds. I greeted neighbors. Thanked them for coming. Told them I was working on something new, something important. When they asked what I'd been up to, I told them the truth. I've been speaking about emotional abuse, I said. About what it's like growing up in a home that looks perfect from the outside but isn't. About what healing looks like when you're the kid everyone thinks is just difficult. People listened. Some nodded knowingly. Some looked uncomfortable. A few shared stories of their own kids, or nieces, or students who had always seemed too sensitive. Diana jumped in with language that made things digestible but still sharp. It's easy to miss the signs, she said at one point. Especially when one child is easy and another is emotional. We tend to label, rather than look deeper. My dad came over halfway through and pulled me aside. What are you doing? He asked, voice low. I smiled. I'm being myself. That's all. This isn't the time or the place. You've said that before. I said. At the graduation. At every holiday dinner where you told me to keep my voice down. At every moment when I asked for honesty, and you called it disrespect. He stepped back. He didn't have a rebuttal. The moment that really sealed it. When Kaylin stood up to give a toast, She clinked her glass and cleared her throat. "I know we're here to celebrate Labor Day," she said, "but I just want to take a minute to celebrate something else." My sister. Heads turned. My parents stiffened. For a long time, I didn't really understand her. I believed things that were easier to believe. I let other people tell me who she was. But this year, I've seen her more clearly than ever. And I just want to say I'm proud of her, for everything. For becoming someone who speaks the truth, even when it makes other people uncomfortable. She raised her glass. To Ria. There was a pause, and then people clapped. Real applause. Even my old piano teacher, Mrs. Kennard, whispered to me, "I always knew you were the strong one." My mother didn't toast. She didn't smile. She didn't say a word. But that was okay because this wasn't about her anymore. After the party, Kaylin and I sat in her car. Windows rolled down. Music playing softly. "Well," she asked. I breathed in the late summer air. "That felt good," I said. "Revenge good?" she teased. "No, better. It felt like I finally reclaimed something." She grinned. "You made them squirm. And you didn't have to yell, or fight, or burn anything down. Just told the truth." She nodded. "And I finally heard it." I haven't spoken to my parents since. They sent a terse email afterward. "We don't appreciate being made into a spectacle." I didn't reply. They've lived their whole lives hiding behind perfection. If a little truth rattled their windows, maybe they should consider what their house is built on. I'm not angry anymore. I'm free. Kaylin and I aren't pretending we're perfect. We're just two sisters who finally see each other clearly. And that's enough. My revenge was simple. I lived, I healed, and I told the truth. And they had to watch me do it.